Buyers, you're going to have to make some decisions during the negotiation process about seller possession at the close of escrow. And we're going to talk about that in this video. I'm William Smith with the William Smith Luxury Group at Coldwell Banker Realty in Carmel, California, keeping you informed. And let's get started. How we get to the close of escrow. And maybe the seller wants to stay a few days. We've talked about, should you let a seller remain in possession? Well, if you do, and it's for a couple of days, usually say, sure, just move out and over the weekend and we'll move in on Monday. Make sure that you've got the utilities lined up. There's nothing worse than having the moving truck there and you're ready to go and there's no electricity because it was turned off, but you didn't turn it on. Let's make sure that first time that the disposal company is supposed to come pick up your garbage, that they know that you're the new owner. And then let's make sure that you've got your internet and your cable set up. So all of these things are going to be happening right from the time that you remove the contingencies and loan docs are ready. You've got about 13 days in that 30-day example that we have. So let's say that the sellers had agreed to stay and they wanted 3 more weeks because the house they're moving to is going to be ready for 3 weeks after the close of escrow because they needed to close their escrow, but they needed the money from your sale in order for that to happen. All right. It's reasonable for a buyer to ask for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and many homeowners' fees during that time. So that's something that you can go ahead and negotiate, obviously, before the final contingencies are removed so that everybody's in sync and anticipating that. Then if you're the buyer, and let's say that you're going to do some remodeling and you are renting and you want to time it so that you don't have to pay double rent and mortgage any longer than you have to, make sure that your property manager knows what is going on with your schedule. And a lot of times you can negotiate out of a lease because a lot of times a landlord can raise the new tenant's rent higher than they can with yours with the restrictions in California. And so a negotiation can usually take place. The landlord will often ask you to cover any vacancy time they have, but that's usually short-lived because on the Monterey Peninsula, we just do not have enough rental inventory. So with all of that happening, let's say you're moving in 3 weeks after the close of escrow. Now all the utilities are in your name, everything's set up, and now it's moving day. Well, first of all, make sure you make a reservation with your mover a month or 2 in advance if you have a feeling once you get your accepted that it's going to happen, and then confirm with them when you remove your contingencies. So you have 13 more days before close of escrow and then plus whatever time after close of escrow it's going to take for you to move, because movers are busy, a lot of activity going on right now, and you need to make sure that you have your place. Or if you're going to rent a truck, U-Haul is very difficult to predict when they're going to have that. So you don't want to make a telephone call a week before your moving day because they may not have the vehicles for you. So those are all things that a buyer, and usually a first-time home buyer, would have to deal with. Now, an experienced buyer, obviously, if it's a cash deal, you're going to want to make sure that you get the most value for that cash position, or you might look at some alternatives because there might be some ways for you to get some very low interest rates and keep your cash in an account that's yielding you a higher interest rate. So those are all things that you might want to discuss as well. So we've covered a lot of territory on what it means to buy in this changing market. We do see lots of opportunities for buyers that weren't there even just 6 months ago. Interest rates were lower, but so were some of these prices that were being asked and some of the frenzy that got built up when people were competing and doing overbids to beat the competition. Well, it's still basically a seller's market, and probably will be through Q3 and Q4 of 2022, but you've got a little bit more time so you can make a smarter decision. I'm going to venture to say that there have been a lot of buyers in the last 2 years that have purchased some homes that they weren't 100% in love with because they had to make a decision and it was just so scarce with the inventory. Fortunately, it's starting to be a more balanced where there's enough inventory coming to the market that covers the buyer demand. So with all of that, I want to invite you to write your questions or comments in the comments section. And thank you very much for joining me, William Smith, from the William Smith Lecture Group at Coldwell Banker Realty in Carmel, California, here on our YouTube channel. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much. See you next time.